really start listening to our body to see what our body is telling us, and we start receiving the spiritual messages, we become the recipient. Because we know that that is the intelligence that we have to listen to. We can listen to all this, but as long as we continue to listen to all this, we're going to continue to be stuck exactly where we are. And we're not happy there. And the only reason why we're not happy there is because it's not aligned with who we are. Anytime we feel alive, anytime we feel joy, anytime we feel playful, we're aligned with who we are. But we put that on a back burner. My soul comes alive when I dance, but I only dance like once a year. My soul feels at peace when I take a walk by the lake. But I only gift myself that every once in a while. I love writing. I love traveling. I love so much when I do these things, I come alive. These are the type of action steps that I love to take. And I don't. Because I allow the clutter in my mind tell me I don't have time, I don't have the money, the two most dangerous things that keeps people away from doing what they really, really, truly desire to do. And it's the mind that is saying that, because the mind has been conditioned to believe this to be true, because that's what your parents used to say, that's what society says, and you bought that belief. So now every time when you're not listening to yourself, you use that. You're like, darn it, I know I shouldn't be here right now. You feel it. I know I should leave this relationship, or I know I should be with this person, but I'm talking myself out of it. I know I should have that difficult conversation because it's going to create a lot of transformation, but it's too uncomfortable and I'm too afraid that this person will leave me. So I'm going to continue to sip my tea and not do it. Boom. What is it that you truly desire to do, but that you're not allowing yourself to do, that you're talking yourself out of? Claiming that you want to love yourself, but you don't want to do what feels right to you, what sits right with you, what awakens your soul, what makes you come alive. No wonder you feel depressed. No wonder you feel anxious when you're not doing the things that make you come alive. When you've been listening to everybody else and all the clutter in your mind, but yourself. You're saying that you're bored, but you don't know yourself. If you knew yourself, you would never be born. Because you're magic. You're a mystery. You're a puzzle where no matter how much time you spend trying to put all the pieces together, you can't. Because you're so magical and complex. But you put yourself in a box. You say, this is all that I am. This is all I'm gonna do. And these are my limits, and these are the boundaries, and that's it. When we feel like we're dying on the inside, when we're having all kinds of symptoms, whether they be emotional, physical, psychological, doesn't matter, relational, those are signs that it's time for you to reconnect. Reconnect with yourself and disconnect from the things that are not serving you anymore. Reconnecting with self is an action. Disconnecting from the things that are not serving you anymore is taking action. When I speak about action in terms of self-love and making that part of the definition, yes, I talk about the soul-aligned action, but I also talk about the soul-aligned inaction. And that's for us overachievers. The soul-aligned, like physical action, is for you who are playing small and you're keeping yourself in the background because you don't see a point. And the inaction, the soul-aligned inaction, is for us overachievers who do too much, who distract ourselves all the time, who always need to keep busy, not understanding is a trauma response. It's a trauma response not to do too. Both are. When we are on the both extreme spectrums and both of us are miserable. Instead of checking in with ourselves to feel, what is in my highest good? Would it serve me more to go to that party, or would it serve me more to stay at home, take a nice bath, and listen to my favorite book, read my favorite book, or watch a show? What's in my highest good right now? To put in the extra hours at work and then say I don't have time? Or to say no and set the boundary and go home and spend some time in introspection? Whatever we do, whether it be a physical action or changing our decision to do something and doing something else, it's considered action. Not doing anything is part of self-love too, because that's what you need. When it comes to making this a part of who you are, that means always asking yourself, what's in my highest good right now? And we know that based on how we're gonna feel and what it's gonna do to us, what it's gonna bring us, whether it's gonna lead us closer to ourselves or if it's gonna lead us further away from ourselves. If we're gonna feel more exhausted or if we're gonna feel more fueled. If it's gonna help us be more creative and help us feel more beautiful and bring out our passion, or if it's gonna make us feel drained, exhausted, lazy, stressed out. That's how we know. We feel it in our body. We feel it in our cells. We feel it in our bones. But we don't pay attention to that. Because we are super women, right? We're supposed to just do. We're supposed to compete, compare, and live in our heads and take care of our duties, right? It's no way to live. So you have to ask yourself, if I wasn't obsessing with my mind, who would I be? What would I do? Whom would I spend time with? And how would I lead myself? If I was really listening to the spiritual guidance that I have access to, what would I do? How would I express myself? How would I treat myself? How would I view myself? Who would I be? What would I do? So we're learning to love ourselves because we have to love ourselves to be able to really stay consistent receiving that type of divine information and the divine guidance that is so needed. If we're not loving ourselves, if we're not connecting with ourselves, if we're totally disconnected and we're always in our heads, there is no way that can be anything that's consistent and long term. That's why you have glimpses of it. Oh my gosh, how did I know that? I have no clue how I knew that. I don't know how I knew that person was gonna call me. I don't know how I knew that I was gonna get that job, but I just knew it. And you leave it at that. And that's the limited access you get to the higher intelligence. Because the rest of the time, you're always up in your head. Right? So we have to start breaking it down, asking ourselves why we're doing what we're doing and why we're not doing what we're doing. And that's where the honesty and the reflection kicks in, because that's what's going to show us and what's going to teach us. And as you're being honest and reflective, again, this can't take over. We're observing, just like we were observing our breath yesterday. We are observing why. And we get that answer and we move forward. And if we mess up again, if we do the same thing again, we ask ourselves why. What's still there? What residue is still left? What action would actually bring me to breaking free, breaking through, transforming in this area that I continue to play small in, where I'm continuing to suppress my needs, my wants, my deepest desires? What needs to happen for me to love myself more? What can I do to listen to myself a little more? What can I do to quiet my mind? What can I do to retrain my intellect? What can I do? Not how will I do it. I don't know how. But the deeper, the more your deeper intelligence knows. Who you are on a spiritual level knows. When you're living your life on a soul level, you're leading yourself from a soulful place. You will receive divine guidance. But if you shut yourself off from it, you won't. And every now and then, when you do shut yourself off without knowing it, you will get glimpses of it. So you have to choose how you want to live your life. You have to choose. And once you choose, you have to commit to it. Because that's what today comes to. The first day was honesty, and we were declaring that we were going to be honest. The second day yesterday was about reflection, and that was about the exploration. Today is about action, and the action is about the commitment. The final step. It's not steps, but that's how it makes more sense in our brains. The final part of the definition is the action. And that's our commitment to ourselves, that when we have an honest answer, when we are getting to know ourselves deeper, we're going to take soul-aligned action. And when we do that, we're doing that because we're committed to ourselves. We're committed to our self-love journey. We're committed to transformation. We're committed to a lifetime of falling in love with ourselves. We're committed. And we don't care if we've never done it before. We don't care what our intellect says. We don't get caught up in that because we listen to ourselves. We already have the answers. We just have to start listening. We have to start paying attention. We have to start remembering. And it becomes a beautiful journey, and we start realizing that we've always been creating our lives, even when we didn't want to believe it, and now when we choose to believe it. Just before we were creating what we didn't want, now we're going to be creating what we do want. Oh. So your homework is write out why you're taking the actions you're taking, the action you're taking, the action steps, and why you're not taking the action steps that you do want to take. And then you can reflect on and journal. Who would you be? What would you do? Whom would you spend time with? And how would you lead your life? How would you lead yourself if you weren't obsessing with your thoughts? If you weren't obsessed with your mind? If you didn't let your intellect rule your life? And you started tapping in to who you are on a soul level? What would that be like? Okay?